What can you tell us about the investigation of, that you've been working on the last few days from murder over there on Dundee Circle?
Sure. So November 27th, we began a homicide investigation at 386 Dundee. The first thing we want to say is to reach out and comment to the family of Scott Hanna. We're with you. We support you. We've worked nonstop on this, and it's a tragedy, and we're so sorry for your loss. Also now to announce is we've acquired an arrest as well as warrants for Cornelius Davon Brogan, Mr. Brogan, and those warrants are for aggravated murder, aggravated burglary, and felonious assault. As we know that Mr. Brogan is currently in custody in Logan County with the Sheriff's Department for an unrelated felonious assault on a police officer, and he's being held there for a $500,000 bond right now. Our warrants are now entered what they call into leads and into the system. The Sheriff's Department is more aware that we have now charged him with murder, and so Mr. Brogan will not be going anywhere, and we'll be making plans in the future to work on the extradition process.
And yeah, you mentioned extradition because it's Logan County, Kentucky, not Logan County, Ohio.
Correct. So that's the other thing. We'd like to reach out and say thank you very much to Logan County Sheriff's Department. They were great to work with, as well as Russellville, Kentucky Police Department. So and it's approximately 5 hours from here. So there's been a lot of back and forth traveling on our department's behalf, and then a lot of communication back and forth by all three departments. And it's been outstanding on the work they've all completed down there.
Take us through kind of how you identified Mr. Brogan as a person of interest, and then what you know about how he ended up in custody down there.
Sure. So unfortunately, when Mr. Hanna's body was discovered, it was by friends, and they were able to give us some information very quickly. And then also what helps in the process is so many people now have Ring cameras, and we have a database that lets us know who has Ring cameras, as well as good old-fashioned walking the neighborhood. We were able to discover video and be able to put together that the only car during this time frame that was in and out of the residence besides Mr. Hanna was Mr. Brogan's car. So based off of that information, he became a suspect, or not a suspect, but a person of interest. And then as the case unfolded and the investigation went further and further, now he's our lead suspect and our only suspect.
Do you know anything about their relationship to each other and whether Mr. Brogan lived at the same place as Mr. Hanna?
So there was a time and period where they did live together. There was a romantic involvement between the two individuals. At some point, that situation stopped. There was in the interest became non-existent anymore, basically. And it's a shame. That's all we can say right now is that why somebody chooses to do this, but there was definitely a past romantic involvement.
That Dundee Circle, is that Hanna's home?
Yes, that is Scott Hanna's home or place of residence, and then the actual residence itself is owned by his father.
Okay, and so for whatever reason, Mr. Brogan came over there. Obviously, that's what you believe.
That's correct. Yeah, we absolutely believe that we've been able to narrow down the time, the date, and actually we feel that we have it on film when this incident occurred.
Okay, so after it, you have him leaving, I assume, too, maybe with some of these neighborhood cameras and stuff like that?
That's correct, as well as the use of we utilize some technology with pinging a cell phone, flock cameras that gave us a direction of travel, which are license plate readers. And then our big break came with, we knew the cell phone number and the phone was traveling, and when it stopped, where it stopped at. And like I said, we had great support from Logan County Sheriff's Department and Russellville Police Department.
So he's being held down there for assault on a police officer. Did that happen when they tried to take him into custody for you or on your behalf?
Actually, what's interesting is we actually did not want him taken into custody. We were not there yet, but we knew that we wanted the vehicle as a piece of evidence involved with the homicide they were investigating. So they were there at the residence where he was arrested to retrieve the vehicle, and when they were in the process of retrieving the vehicle, the assault on the police officer occurred at that point.
Okay, so he came out of whatever residence or home or apartment down there and actually went after a Logan County Sheriff's deputy? Or?
Basically, he was challenging why they were taking the vehicle, and then it escalated from there. Don't want to comment too much on it just because we weren't there. We just know what the charges were and kind of the gist of what happened, but they definitely did not want the car to go anywhere.
And your charges have all been approved by Montgomery County Prosecutor's Office?
That's correct. So everything has been approved and now into the lead system, and it'll just be a matter of moving the case forward in front of the grand jury as well as extradition.
What can you tell us? Did Mr. Brogan have a previous criminal record?
Don't want to really comment on that right now. I'm sure you guys have access to look at different convictions and whatnot. He did have a history within our city, and did have a history in our city with Mr. Hanna.
This is, like you said, a lot of work on behalf of some of the officers and detectives in your department, correct? You can talk about that.
Absolutely, countless hours. We all talk about. I'm sure everybody's seen the TV show 48 Hours. First 48 hours. That's true. I mean, our guys were on this nonstop from the time the homicide happened. We break our detective section down into teams, and they were able to rotate working on this nonstop. So basically, it was worked on 24 hours a day for the last 4 to 5 days.
You can't. Obviously, you mentioned Mr. Hanna's family. Have you had any contact with them, at least since you've been able to narrow down who you think did it, and now you can tell them that person is in custody and hopefully being brought back here?
Correct. Our department has had a lot of contact with the family, and just unimaginable pain that they've gone through. We were able to let them know this morning about the charges, the official charges being brought forward against Mr. Brogan, and it's just such a tragedy.
Anything else, guys?
Sure. So initially, when this occurred, and he was taken into custody down in Kentucky, we did go try to interview him. He did not want to talk to us at that point. You can draw lines in the sand as far as that they were ex-boyfriends, and that's a shame. But as to what ignited it at that moment, from what we can see, it looks clearly unprovoked in any way by Mr. Hanna.
And do you have any timeline for when the extradition might happen?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any timeline for when the extradition might happen?
Currently, right now, no, just because of the seriousness of the charges he's also facing in Kentucky. But that's something that will get worked out between our prosecutor's office and their prosecutor's office.
You believed that Mr. Hanna, even from the coroner's office, that he'd been stabbed repeatedly.
That's correct.
Any recovery of a weapon, or still looking for that, or?
We have conducted a couple search warrants on different residents as well as the vehicle. We're confident that we feel that we've recovered substantial amounts of evidence that will help in this case, including what we feel is going to be the murder weapon.
Are both men from Riverside?
Um,
From the daycare?
So I know Scott Hanna has lived in the area for a while, but did not grow up in the area. He was a Springfield resident, I believe, and went to Southeastern High School. Just from the amount of outpouring that we've seen, I'm aware of that, and the poor young man was battling cancer and beat cancer. Mr. Brogan, honestly, I have no idea where he's from. I know at some point he did reside in our city, but our information currently was that he was homeless.
Okay. Everything, guys? We good? Okay. Thank you, Major.
Yeah, no problem.